Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between World Elite's Loner and NV's MacSed. I actually misspelled his name over here, so it's MacSed, not MacSec. And I don't know how I accidentally misspelled that, but I will leave that in the video just because I try to do everything right the first time, and if I don't, I leave it there because I am not a perfect person. Anyways, World Elite's Loner spawning as the red Terran player on the south side of the map, and versus Protoss, MacSed spawning on the north side of the map. It should be an interesting game here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. I am looking forward to it. This is Protoss versus Terran. Now, I know a lot of you guys out there are wondering when I will start to cast more mirror matches, and I think I'll try to do more mirror matches next week. Mirror matches are one of those types of games where they kind of feel stale after a while, but then when you don't cast mirror matches, you really am not casting about half of the games out there. So hopefully I will be able to cast some more of those games, and these games will get underway. Loner now setting up a barracks by that front door, will be able to train up a Marine. A probe should be making its way out as soon as it sets up or warps in that gateway. And by the time that MacSed is able to walk up that ramp, the Marine is not going to be done yet, but the SCV should be about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way done with his building of that barracks. One Marine now slowly making the trek up all the way to the north side of the map, and we'll be able to pretty much see what we already know is there. MacSed getting the assimilator, getting that one pylon. He should be getting a cybernetics core the instant that gateway is done. And whether or not he decides to train an early Zealot will be one of the key questions. As the probe realizes he can't get any real damage onto that SCV, wanders around, we should be upgrading to an orbital command, getting a Marine, and now the game is going to really start to take place. So at this stage, both players pretty much playing standard games, standard Protoss versus Terran, nothing out of the ordinary, no proxies, and no halting of probes. So both players are just trying to build up a very strong economy and then trying to build proper defense. We are getting a tech lab here, and I'm curious to see what Loner wants to do next. A lot of players have recently tried to use the Reaper expansion, and Reaper expansion could work out well here, placing down a command center here, using the Reaper in order to scout out, and we'll see what it's going to be, and it does look like it will be a Reaper expansion. Back over here in the base of MacSed now chrono boosting out that Stalker. He did not go for that early Zealot, so that SCV able to wander around a little bit longer than MacSed would like. He is getting another pylon back over here, so making it very tight for units to try to get in and out of the mineral line here. So what's going to happen is that Hellions are going to even have a difficult time as that Stalker now finally makes its way out. There's that command center that I was talking about just moments ago. One Marine and now out moves this Reaper. The Reaper going to just wander around the map. The probe over here may get destroyed. No, the Reaper going to just see what he can see. Now, one of the things that you use with this Reaper is you want to figure out what your opponent is trying to go tech-wise. As soon as this SCV is gone, normally that is the time when the Protoss player really trains up and he really gets out his tech, whether you see the robotics facility, double gateways, a Stargate, or a Twilight Council. But instead, he's going to run into two Stalkers, and that's always a very, very bad day for a Reaper. And that Reaper just going to get shot down there. So that Reaper pretty much didn't see anything that he did not already know. And that was a waste of a scout there. We are getting more barracks now, though. So with that double racks and taking a look at those two Stalkers, Loner most likely thinks that there may be some early aggression. However, we now see MacSed setting up a nexus of his own, and this nexus will pretty much be unchallenged. Back down here, we currently see a bunker being built by Loner. We are getting a tech lab and now going for another reactor, and perhaps another tech lab would probably be the right combination of units. Is it a tech lab? Yeah, so 2 tech labs, 1 reactor, able to double train Marauders and 2 Marines at a time, as the orbital command now completed here by Loner. Loner most likely will call down a mule and then lift off, as this bunker for protection has already been completed, and then he will be able to semi-protect his main base and his natural expansion. One of the benefits of the Marauders and the concussive shell is that you do not need nearly as much base defense, as it's very difficult to try to run by. There is that one bunker there. It was now salvaged, as he most likely knows that his opponent is now trying to do an expansion of his own. You can see that Loner is going to be coming in, sees that there is that expansion there, and that's the reason why he salvaged that bunker, knowing that he could afford to. And now Marauders and Marines positioned all over the place. One probe going to quickly come in, sees that there is that the expansion down over here, and how will both players react and respawn? There is another gateway and a robotics facility. I do not see an observer just quite yet, just pylons being positioned, and both players pretty much playing in the dark. Loner finally going into a factory, so one factory of now being trained, and it will be a little bit of time before we get into medevacs, which is the next critical unit that Loner needs to go. He looks like he's trying to go for mass infantry once again, and many Terran players go mass infantry against Protoss, and Marauders and Marines are very powerful, but they slowly or they very quickly lose their effectiveness, especially against sentries with Guardian Shield and Forge with armor. But it doesn't look like MacSed has any plans to upgrade any of his units just quite yet, just going for a robotics bay and trying to train up Colossus. Now we see Marauders and Marines on the move. Stim pack not yet done, and that's going to be a little bit of an issue as those Stalkers now coming in, and now losing one Marauder there to 3 force fields. That one Marauder didn't even get off a point of damage back, and now the Marauder Marine army just sitting out over here instead. You can see the starport and the reactor being built in addition to a Ghost Academy. Ghost Academy, very important in order to get those EMP shockwaves on those sentries and those immortals. Immortals very powerful with shields, not quite so much without those shields. Same things with sentries, very powerful with energy. Without energy, they are just very expensive marine. Marines and Marauders just sitting on the low ground. Combat shield now being started as well, in addition to the extended thermal lance range on those units for those Colossus. You can now see most likely medevacs will be trained first, and then perhaps anywhere from 6 to 8 Vikings, but medevacs need to be added to this army, otherwise it's not going to be very successful. Loner only training up 1 medevac at a time though. I don't think he actually realized that, otherwise that'd be a just horrible misclick, or just a horrible strategy to add a reactor to a starport and not train a double medevac. There you go, finally getting that second medevac now, and needs to get some more supply depots up and running. Combat shield about halfway done. That first ghost will be out in a second. Very important to get your ghost out early so they can start to naturally regenerate those shields. And as they regenerate shields, or sorry, not those shields, their energy, it makes them more and more effective, both with sniper rounds and EMP shockwave. One of the things I've always wondered about the sniper round is how come it doesn't scale with the upgrades on the actual weapon of a ghost. So, you know, 1-0 weapons upgrade perhaps deal a little bit more damage on the sniper round, because after a while the ghost deals like 26 damage per attack against a zealot, and then a sniper round does 45. So you're like, do I really want to use 45 energy to deal 25 energy to deal 45, or can I just normally shoot and deal 26? Anyways, back here, the Ghost Academy used as the wall-off building. So, very interesting. Instead of putting an engineering bay here, putting the Ghost Academy, and that Ghost Academy does have significantly more hit points than the engineering bay and will be delayed. A medevac tried to get a drop in, but unsuccessful because MacSed has very, very decent pylon placement around his map, able to get in reinforcements and also move around with those stalkers. Blink now being researched for those stalkers in addition to the level 1 weapons upgrade, and Colossus is now being trained. 1 or 2 Colossi already up. A 3rd Colossus will be added to that army. 3 Colossi with a lot of Zealots and Sentries. The Zealots do not have charge though, so in comes this fight. Are we going to get an EMP Shockwave? Yeah, EMP Shockwave depleting many of the shields there, and now perhaps another EMP Shockwave. Are we going to get another Ghost? No, in comes the Force Field, and wow, that was just a horrible positioning. And MacSed may be able to just clean up the rest of those Marauders, the medevacs picking up all the units, and now all of them are trying to run away. The Colossus barreling their way through their own force fields, and now giving chase. No siege tanks or siege tech yet, only mass Vikings now being trained, 2 Vikings at a time. The medevacs are returning home to say with those Marines and Marauders, and that was a very unsuccessful push, losing a majority of his attacking force. You can see the differences, 2725 versus 950. Army-wise, there is now a 1300 mineral difference between these two armies, and now with even more gateways coming in, we are going to have what, 7 gateways operational. That's going to be able to add a lot of food every minute. Loner now continuing to train up even more Vikings in order to counter the Colossus, and those Vikings are going to be absolutely critical in trying to shoot them down. MacSed does not have a Stargate, so he will not have any Phoenixes to try to absorb that damage and fight back. So if the Vikings are able to finish off those Colossus, that would be that would probably allow the Marines and the Marauders to finish off the rest of the fight. But the Marines and the Marauders are only upgraded at 1-0 right now, will be upgraded 1-1, while the Zealots are now getting charged. The Stalkers already have Blink, I believe, and we are getting the level 2 weapons upgrade. So yeah, level 2 Blink already researched, Charge already now being researched, and now level 2 weapons upgrade, allowing the Immortals and Colossus to deal a significant amount of damage in a very short amount of time. No Mobius reactor for those ghosts, so those ghosts are not going to be able to EMP the instant they get out of the barracks. As the Marauders, Marines, and even some Hellions joining in on the battle. The Hellions will be critical in this battle if they are able to line up and get a lot of blue flame or the Infernal Pre-Igniter research onto those Zealots and perhaps rack up that damage. The Zealot meat shield will melt very, very quickly. And now, a probe taking down an engineer or an SCV trying to build an engineering base, so the Nexus will be delayed for a significant amount of time, as Loner should be canceling this engineering bay in just a moment. Are we getting another command center? And it doesn't look like the engineering bay was canceled at all, but there is no command center being built at all. These rocks have been destroyed, so there should be an expansion there in just a moment. Loner now sitting on 11 Vikings, so 11 Vikings, 240 damage per, or 264 damage per round of attack against those Colossus. So we'll be able to two-shot them, assuming that there is no Guardian Shield. The Guardian Shield will make it close. I don't want to try to do the math, as I'm not 100% familiar with all the calculations right now. There is a lot of Colossus, though, 7 Colossus, and even with that many Vikings, you almost need to be able to one-shot a Colossus in order to deal with 36 food of Viking. In the Stalkers and Zealots now wandering around still. Zealots are upgraded 2-0. The Vikings need to get some damage in onto those Colossus. The Vikings and the Marauders and Marines now trying to pull back, and now in comes the fight here. A lot of damage being dealt across both sides. EMP Shockwave did hit a lot of those units here as the Marauders are battling it out. The Vikings are not firing against the Colossus in time. Now going after them one at a time, but I believe there's a lot of Stalkers still on the ground. Marauders and the Marines trying to hold off. There are a lot of Stalkers on the ground, finishing up the Vikings, and there's the GG. So Loner unable to battle back against a 2-0 upgraded Colossus with strong force field placement here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Loner and MacSed here in the Xel'Naga Caverns.